pinpoint why Northern Ireland is lagging behind the rest of the UK?
Well, I think it's important to say, first and foremost, that as you said, every other part of the UK has a violence against women and girls strategy, yet domestic abuse rates are still high, are still underreported, and violence against women and girls still happens. So it's certainly not a silver bullet, and the strategy in England doesn't go far enough. But I think it's really important, and it's concerning to hear the First Minister almost underplay the level of the issue in Northern Ireland, because Northern Ireland does have a specific issue with violence against women and girls, because it is a post-conflict society, and there is a significant amount of research to suggest that after the Troubles ended and after the violence ended on the streets, that a lot of that violence was brought into the home and turned on intimate partners.
Why would you describe Orling Foster as underplaying it?
Well, she just said in that interview that Northern Ireland had low rates and not so much of a problem with this issue. That was just a direct quote from the interview that you played. There is a significant issue with underreporting in Northern Ireland. There's an issue with underreporting everywhere, but even more of an issue because of the nature of Northern Ireland society, it being a post-conflict society. So I think there is more of a need in Northern Ireland than anywhere else to have a specific strategy to tackle this. I've seen various reasons why that's not been the case, including what's known as Section 75, the need for services to be equally and uniformly available. I think that is just an excuse, I'm afraid, because there are services that are specific to different types of people and different needs. And there is clearly a need for a gender-specific strategy, because violence is disproportionately targeted at women in domestic situations. You are twice as likely to be a victim of domestic abuse if you're a woman than a man. And as I say, there is a massive issue with underreporting. So that statistic will, in all likelihood, be much higher. We just don't know the true extent of it. The
Green Party MLA Claire Bailey told Radio Ulster this week that Stormont has failed to deliver for women. Would you go along with that?
I'd say the failure to deliver a violence against women and girls strategy is failing women in Northern Ireland, definitely.
We saw confirmation yesterday that misogyny will be recorded as a hate crime by police in England and Wales. It's due to come into play this autumn. Is a blanket approach the best way to tackle this across the United Kingdom? Because, of course, Scotland, the government attempted to extend its legislation to protect vulnerable groups to include women. That motion was defeated. So does it need to be all the devolved governments singing off the same hymn sheet on this?
Well, I think it's really important that the devolved governments develop their own strategies that are appropriate and suitable for their own jurisdictions. And as I say, Northern Ireland has particular and unique issues that a strategy needs to be tailored to. Now, misogyny being recorded as a hate crime is really important, and it would be great to see the PSNI adopting that. But there are really pressing issues that need to be adopted across the piece, and that's why it's important that the Executive Office takes this on and takes responsibility for this, because it cuts across so many different areas. Yes, it's important that it's taken from a criminal justice perspective, and as we've been talking about this week, less than 1% of rapes are prosecuted in England and Wales. So then there needs to be massive reform and culture change in the criminal justice system. But it also needs to look at prevention. It needs to look at working with perpetrators themselves, so probation. It needs to look at at housing policy, at health, at education. So it needs to be cross-cutting across all government departments. And that's why we really need to see leadership from the First Minister and Deputy First Minister.
If you're starting from scratch, which we essentially would be in Northern Ireland, are there quick wins along the way to try and ensure that women and girls do feel a degree of protection, some tangible wins that could take place?
I think a first really important step would be healthy sex and relationship education in schools to teach girls and boys about consent and about what healthy relationships should look like. That would be a very, very long-term impact, and is the most important element of this. It's been a long time campaigning here in England, and we're not quite there in terms of good statutory education, but that would be a really fundamental part of the piece.
Funding, what degree do you think it would take to pull this together?
There's different elements of it, as I say. Certainly, domestic abuse support services in the immediate term need more funding on the ground, and they've not had the same support through COVID as their similar support services have in the rest of the UK. So they'll be in a serious state of debt and problem coming out of COVID, given the amount of women that they will have had to support. But as I say, it's about a wider kind of early intervention and preventative approach across lots of different services. And it's about a culture change. It's about a culture change in the criminal justice system, and it's about admitting as a society that women do not feel safe, that there are specific and exacerbated issues in some communities in Northern Ireland that are subject to effective paramilitary control, and about listening to those women and women's organisations and developing a strategy with them at the heart.